Good evening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to News in Focus. My name is Faraz Patel. Jazakallah so much for joining us. Of course, excitement has kicked in with the 2024 Paris Olympic Games beginning, of course, the opening ceremony that is currently underway. And Team South Africa will be on the hunt for medals. During the last games in Tokyo, South Africa only managed 3 medals with Tatiana Schoenmaker and Bianca Buitendage winning these medals. But we, of course, saw in Rio 2016 where South Africa put in one of, if not their best performance at an Olympic Games post apartheid. Joining us now to look ahead to this year's Olympic Games and, of course, to look back to a time such as 1996, I'd like to welcome two-time Olympic gold medalist and swimming great Penny Heyns. Penny, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us here on News in Focus on Hilaal TV.
Thank you. Good evening to your viewers.
It's an absolute pleasure. Penny, I want to go back to 1996. And obviously, it'll be a nostalgic moment for you. It was a nostalgic moment for South Africans. Before departing to Atlanta, it was an Olympic Games that obviously you had 1994, you had the Rugby World Cup being won in 95. Just a few months before that, Bafana had won the Africa Cup of Nations. How did you feel going into Atlanta, knowing that the nation was looking at Team South Africa and really putting a lot of their hopes in trying to bring another sense of joy within the country?
Well, I think, as you said, the timing of Atlanta, so looking back on my career, the timing of my career was just very special in the sense that it was off the back of Madiba becoming president, the World Cup rugby that we won, as you said, the Africa Cup of Nations. So there was great excitement amongst, I think, the team in general. I had been based in the States for the previous 3 years. So in a way, the US and Atlanta was home away from home for me. So also to a large degree, I wasn't that aware of what the pressure coming from home was. I tried to stay away from watching the media and just focus on swimming my own race so that if I do the best I can, then obviously, hopefully the results would be something that the nation would appreciate. And so that was kind of my focus. But I was aware of the World Cup rugby and the soccer. So those were both an inspiration, I think, to not only myself, but the whole team.
Penny, I remember, the first gold medal that you win, and, I was watching it on TV along with my family, and I'm sure millions of South Africans were doing the same thing. Uh, when when you touched, that piece of wood in those Atlanta pools, and you got the excitement of knowing that you had won the gold medal, and then days after that, of course, you had won your second gold medal. Talk to us about that, because obviously you had come up against some of the best in the world at that time, especially from the United States of America, and you spoke about it, you were based there. How much did your experience being in the US really prepare you for what was going to be a difficult time in the pools in Atlanta?
Well, I think I was very fortunate, first of all, to have the experience of Barcelona 1992. I didn't perform very well there, but I knew what the Olympics were about, and I knew how to prepare myself better mentally going into Atlanta. I was the current world record holder in the 100. I just improved that time at our Olympic trials earlier in the year. So, I was fairly confident. My biggest concern was that I needed mentally to be in the frame of mind to be able to take the pressure and whatever came my way. And for that, I did a lot of visualization in preparation. So, like I said earlier on, I was aware of the pressure, but I didn't, I think sometimes being young, you're kind of a bit of a maverick and you're able to shake off the pressure. And then as I grew older, later on in, let's say, Sydney Olympics, it was a little more difficult to not be so aware of what the expectations externally were.
It wasn't only you that won a gold, Penny. Of course, Josiah Tugwane in that marathon. I mean, it was a really a scintillating race that when he crossed the line to, achieve what he achieved. The fact that South Africa came home with a relative amount of medals. I mean, would you say that on the Olympics phase, and of course we look at Barcelona 1992 when Ilana Meyer and Wayne Ferreira, of course, won their medals. It maybe had an impact, but it wouldn't have had such an impact when you look at what had happened at Atlanta. Do you feel at that time it really, took the mood to a nation to a whole new level, given that, we saw what Bafana did and the Springboks had achieved a year before?
Definitely. I think, as I said, having Nelson Mandela become president in 94, even though he was sort of in everybody's minds in 92, it wasn't the same. We're a rainbow nation now. We have the success of the Rugby World Cup and the soccer. So I feel that the timing of 96, and in that sense, the fact that I was part of it, that Josiah was also able to bring home gold, it just made it so special. And I must be honest, I thought before I returned home, there was this thought in my mind that I wasn't sure how the South African public in general would react to us. I didn't know if it would be polarized, being in the sense that, white South Africans would be happy for me and black South Africans happy for Josiah, just because I'd been out of the country also for so long, hadn't been here since the change. And it was just the most amazing experience to arrive at the airport and just see the nation come together. It was truly a rainbow nation, and everybody was just celebrating with all of us medalists and the team in general. So it was a very special time. And I think because Madiba was part of that era, I don't think we will ever see anything like that again.
Yeah, it truly was such a special time. Penny, I want to touch on the race. I want to start off, of course, with the 100-meter breaststroke. Amanda Beard and Samantha Riley, of course, were your closest competitors in that very race. I mean, how challenging was it to swim against those two individuals, given that the time, and I'm just looking at the time now because I had to bring it up on my phone, it was a shade of just a few seconds. I mean, how were you able to really push yourself against such tough competitors?
Well, my focus was always just trying to improve my own time. And given that I'd broken Samantha Riley's world record in March of that year, I knew I could still swim faster. Having said that, I also fully expected Sam would swim faster. To be very honest, she was the only one that I was really thinking could challenge me. I wasn't that aware of Amanda Beard. And even when I stood on the podium receiving the gold medal, I was standing there feeling bad for Samantha Riley because she got the bronze medal. Because I really thought either she's going to get gold or she'll get silver. So I can't say that I felt any additional pressure because I was going up against those two girls. It was the Olympic Games, and the whole intention was to break the world record again. And I did expect they might improve my world record as well. And then it was just a matter of I've got to try and swim faster. But by that stage of my career, I'd already realized that the best way for you to perform optimally is to focus on yourself and the things that you can control. And so my best races were when I was largely unaware of the others. And even though the final was fairly close, the time I had swum in the morning when I set the world record again was a second plus faster than what they were able to swim. So I had the confidence that if I swim a good race like I did in the morning, I could probably win the race.
And then, of course, in the 200-meter breaststroke, again, Amanda Beard was in the mix, but then Agnes Kovac from Hungary, of course, came into the mix there to take the bronze medal. Between the two, for those South Africans who may be living under the rock, what would you say is the more difficult one to compete in? The 100-meter or the 200-meter? When you entered Atlanta in 96, which one did you see as one that would really push you to your limits?
Again, I think my answers are not what people expect. When I prepared for Atlanta, I was only preparing for the 100 meters.
Yes.
All of my visualization was geared towards that. And about a week before the game started, my coach pulled me aside and said, "What do you think you're going to do in the 200-meter breaststroke?" And I said to him, "I don't know. Maybe I'll make the final, I think. And if I do, who knows? Anything can happen." And then I went and sat one side and I thought to myself, you're in the best shape of your life. You better focus on the 200 as well. So I knew my focus totally the 100, but after I won the 100, I knew I had the speed that no one else had. I did not know how to swim the 200 in terms of how to pace it, if you look at how others did at that stage. So my strategy was go out as fast as you can and hope no one catches you, which is not really the way to swim the 200. It's only the year before I retired that I truly learned to pace the 200 properly. So it's hard to say which race is more difficult. I liked the 100. I didn't like the 200.
Well, you won gold in both. So I think South Africans like you definitely for that. After the break, I continue my conversation with Penny Heyns. We look ahead to the Paris Olympics. What are the medal hopefuls for South Africa, especially within the pools? Do stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, as mentioned, Team South Africa did not get the highs of the 10 medals that they won in Rio de Janeiro. They were able to get 3 medals at the Olympics in 2021. Of course, that was delayed due to COVID-19. Tatiana Schoenmaker, of course, was the shining light of South Africa when she won 2 gold medals there. Penny, again, a lot of the spotlight's going to be on Tatiana. Many are saying, of course, she is your heir to the pool in terms of the South African swimming greats. How have you seen her progression so far, of course, and what experience would she need to take, from Tokyo into Paris to try and really be one of those medal hopefuls for South Africa in the pool?
I think by now Tatiana has competed on the world stage. At the Commonwealth, she's a double champion. At the World Champs, she's won and repeated silvers a couple of times. And now, of course, at the Olympics, she's a champion, world record holder, former world record holder. And, so she has all the experience under her belt. I think she's going in there knowing exactly what she needs to do. She's prepared exceptionally well. If we look at the performances that she had at our Olympic trials, she swam within, I think, 0.06 of her own, what was the world record. So the time she swam for the gold in Tokyo, which is, a world leading time right now. And some say she was not even fully rested. So if that's the case, then Tatiana's going to be blistering fast in the 200, definitely. She has some tough competition, challenge coming from an American, Kate Douglas, who is a multidiscipline specialist. And Kate has swum within 0.2 of Tatiana's times this season, and that was before she was rested. So I think the two of them are probably going to go under the Olympic record. And then, I don't know, we'll have to see what happens. In the 100, it's a little different this time around. You've got some former Olympic gold medalists that weren't in Tokyo that are now competing again. And then you've got some new little Chinese girls swimming exceptionally fast. So I think in the 100, Tatiana will face a greater challenge. So after the 100, we'll have a very good idea of what's going to happen in the 200. But by far, she is the South African that we can expect medals from, and I think even gold.
Yeah, and of course, there's Rebecca Meader, Erin Gallagher, and Kayleen Colbert will obviously be competing in the women's section of the pool. Chad le Clos, of course, he's come through a very difficult period with regards to mental difficulties that he has had. He's back in the pool. There's also Piti Kotsia, who's going to be in the mix. Is there hope for Chad? We saw the greatness of Chad at that London Olympics in 2012. Can he really find a sense of spark within the pools in Paris, Penny?
I have no idea. All I can say is I think that Chad is getting older. That's why I think we don't see him swimming the 200 anymore. Obviously, as you get older, your recovery time is longer. So Chad will really have to pace himself well throughout the heats and the semifinals if he does indeed make the final. And then, of course, as everybody says, once you're in the final, you have a chance. So there are a lot of younger guys competing that have swum times that are a lot faster than what Chad's ever swum in the 100. But anything can happen. Chad is a great racer. He hates to lose. And, he still has some skills to his credit that I think might be better than most of the others he's racing, such as his underwaters. So, yeah, I don't know. Chad can do anything. he can surprise us maybe.
Yeah.
But it is going to be a tough journey for him. He's going to have to be really wise about how to pace himself.
And Coetzee and Sates, what are their chances heading into the pools?
I think Coetzee has proven himself to be a formidable long course swimmer. For your viewers, long course would be in the 50-meter pool, the Olympic pool. Short course is the 25-meter pool, which I always joke and say is Mickey Mouse. You'll see a lot of the very top swimmers in the world, Michael Phelps, those guys, they never compete short course. So Peter has done the work and produced some results in the long course pool. So I think he'll definitely make the finals. And then again, anything can happen. Having said that, though, he's got about 5 guys, I think, ranked ahead of him. So he's going to have his personal best times by far, and they're going to have to not put it together so well. As for Matthew Sates, he's been an exceptional short course meter swimmer. He has not put it together in the long course pool yet, but I don't know where he's at in his training right now. Maybe things have changed, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. Hopefully, he'll make some finals as well.
Penny, the state of South African, athletics, the team South Africa, of course, it's gone through various challenges, various funding challenges, various administrative problems. Do you feel that going into the Paris Games right now, there is a sense of optimism with regards to Team South Africa? And if I were to ask you, the amount of medals that you feel South Africa can really capture at those games, of course, there's the athletic section. South Africans, of course, are still busy competing in the, sevens rugby. There's various other, events that they'll be competing in. But if you were to look at Team South Africa right now, given all the challenges that have been through, what are the realistic expectations in terms of medals to be won?
To be honest, I have no idea. I have insight into what's going to happen in the swimming pool. And I think we'll have 2 medals there. Maybe if one of the others surprise us, we'll have a medal from someone else. But I expect Tatiana will bring home 2 medals. As for the track and field and the other codes that we're competing in, to be very honest, I'm not sure. I know we have some really fast people on the track and field events, but I'm not an expert in those events, so I wouldn't know what to predict. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Of course, your specialty is the pools. Penny, Paris Olympics, of course, it's very much anticipated. So many great athletes that are going to be performing. What makes an Olympic game so special? I mean, you've been to, 3 of them, Barcelona, Atlanta, and of course, Sydney. As an athlete staying in the village, waking up, feeling that sense of confidence, talk to us about that why is this such a huge and special event for those competing from various ages? You see 15-year-old athletes to even ladies and gents who are in their 40s competing. So it really is a games for all ages and for everyone that really wants to be there to compete.
I think what makes the Olympics special, aside from the experience in the village, which I'll touch on in a moment, is the fact that it is the greatest sporting spectacle in the world. It's only once every 4 years, which really makes it something of value. I mean, if you think today, World Championships is every year. Some athletes compete only every 2nd or 3rd World Champs, so they definitely don't put the same kind of weight in terms of importance on those events. Not the same as the Olympics. Nobody goes to the Olympics and they're not at their best. They've been focusing for 4 years getting ready for this. So that you're competing at the pinnacle of what sport is all about, firstly. Secondly, I think the fact that it is a scenario where you've got about 10,500 athletes living within a village setting. It's awesome inside there. It's, once you get inside there, everything's for free. And I read somewhere now that the athletes, actually, their meals are being prepared by Michelin chefs.
Okay.
And they're going to be eating like kings, which is a little different to my experience in Barcelona, where Nutella was the highlight of my life.
Okay.
Certainly, we weren't focusing on the healthy foods back then. But and also you're kind of rubbing shoulders with the people that you will be competing against, and of course stars from the other codes. So you're rubbing shoulders with the likes of possibly Rafael Nadal or some of the NBA players. So I think for any athlete going there, it's very exciting. Having said that, though, for the athletes that are really, really focusing on maybe medaling, at least when I got to Atlanta and Sydney, the focus changes. I was not even so aware of what was going on in the village, or I didn't even attend the opening ceremonies for those two games because I was just totally focusing on my events and needed to make sure that I'd be absolutely ready on the day.
Penny, thank you so much for joining us here on News in Focus. Much appreciated.
Thanks a lot.
That's Penny Heyns, two-time Olympic gold medalist and one of the great athletes of our country. Yeah, 1996 brings back so many great memories. Just what a beautiful era that was in South African sports. And we're getting there. We slowly are getting there. Springboks are world champions. Bafana finished third at the Africa Cup of Nations. Our Banyana are the champions of Africa. And yes, we have an Olympic gold medalist, Tatiana Schoenmaker, going into Paris to defend her title. So we hope that Team South Africa can go ahead and collect even further medals. That's all we have for you here on News in Focus from myself, for Hospital, and the rest of the team. Have yourself a good weekend, and most importantly, a safe one. I'll see you on Monday. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.